Let's start with risk management in COVID 5. First point is it gives excellent guidance in relation to risk management and governance. It analyzes what are the governance requirements, what is the status of governance in the organization, and it gives guidance accordingly. Then it will also see what are the risk management practices of the company, then it will try to improve them. So it gives excellent guidance. As it has a lot of knowledge, as it has the best practices, obviously, whatever opinion COVID 5 gives, it is excellent. Then to go in further detail, they have a 5 governance process. What is a 5 governance process? Is that the correct term? Now, in 5 governance process, we will do 5 things. First, we will identify the risk. Once again, in risk management using COVID 5, COVID 5 gives excellent guidance in relation to risk management and governance. COVID 5 has a 5 governance process in relation to risk management. Now, what are these 5 processes? First, we will identify the risk. Then we will understand the risk. Then we will analyze the risk. Then we will communicate this risk to all stakeholders, and then we will manage the risk. This key term I have used here, IUACM. These are the 5 processes: identify, understand, analyze, or you can say articulate, communicate, and manage the risk. So this is the 5 governance process COVID 5 has. That is why we are using the word 5. This 5 is this 5 governance process. What we have to do with all this risk? We have to make sure.
So 1 minute, please repeat. Identify, understand.
Identify, then understand the risk, then analyze.
Articulate.
You can write analyze the risk or articulate the risk. Then communicate it to all the stakeholders, and then manage the risk. Okay, what is managing the risk? Implementing controls using procedures to reduce it within the pain threshold or the risk appetite. That is what is manage the risk. Then the next point is it is a continuous process. These 5 governance process, we will keep on doing it. Okay, if you are using COVID 5, it will automatically do all these 5 things. It is a continuous process. You don't have to take additional measures or additional activities for it. Then it makes sure it is integration. What is integration? IT management, it will integrate with enterprise risk management. The risk management that we are doing in IT, it will integrate it with the enterprise risk management. And also it will balance cost benefit analysis. Cost benefit analysis, so that you don't have to take the additional time for IT risk management. In the enterprise risk management also, we will include in IT risk management. We will integrate it in such a way that there is a balance in the cost and benefits. So if you this software, it is so well versed that it will make sure that it is integrated, and it will also make sure that there is a balance in the cost and benefits. So if you are using COVID 5, we know that it is expensive, but the benefits will be more than that. After that, risk optimization. Now, what is this risk optimization? Throughout the time the organization is using COVID 5, it will, we have already seen that it is a continuous process. It will make sure that risk is within the risk appetite. That is only what it is trying to say. Only here they have said that throughout the risk management cycle. This risk management cycle is the period we are using COVID 5. So here the key term is risk management cycle. And the last point is it suggests accountability and responsibility. Here we can understand the relationship that we have communicated the risk to all the stakeholders. If the risk materializes, obviously it will be one particular stakeholder who has not understood the risk, or he has some vulnerability which was exploited. So here we have accountability and responsibility. When do we have this? When we are using COBIT 5. Okay. So accountability and responsibility is there when we are using COBIT 5. So these are the 6 points that you will have if you are using COBIT 5. Okay, these are the 6 additional benefits. So what are the points? Guidance, governance process, continuous process, integration, optimization, and accountability and responsibility. You can remember this as EFC IRS. These are not the headings of the points. I have highlighted these points, but you are supposed to write in the sentences that COBIT framework gives excellent guidance in relation to risk management and governance. You don't have to write excellent guidance as a heading. Excellent guidance is not a heading. I have just separated the points. Okay. Any questions till now? What is this CBA? This is cost benefit analysis. Here. This IUACM, this is identify, understand, articulate, communicate, and manage the risk. Okay, now risk management is over. We are talking about now IT, and then we will proceed with IT steering committee. Then after IT steering committee, we will do compliance review. Now let's see what is the importance of IT in enterprises. Role of IT in enterprises. It is not merely for data processing. We are now also using IT for achieving a strategic and competitive advantage. It is the key enabler of automation of business processes. We have learned in TPS that point is automation of business operations. Then it is also innovation tool. Here alignment is important. If it is not aligned, if it is not integrated, then we will have to take additional efforts and cost benefits. There will be no balance. It ensures value creation. In the metrics that we saw, that if you are investing money in IT, then whether the benefits from it are realized or not, that is what is ensuring value creation. And then optimize benefit realization. If we are not realizing value, we will either abandon it or we will take corrective actions. That is basically optimize benefit realization. Okay, this was just some introductory theory that if the question comes, is IT merely a data processing tool? You are supposed to say that no. It is a key enabler, it is an innovation tool, it helps the organization to achieve a strategic and competitive advantage. So these are just some points that you have to write about IT. Now let's see what is the relationship between the business strategy and the IT strategy. In the IT strategy planning, we have already seen this, but we were talking about planning then. We are not talking about planning now. We are talking about only strategy relationship. We are not talking about strategy planning relationship. We are talking about only strategy relationship. Don't get confused here. Okay, these are also some random points, but just read them. SM senior management will do macro level planning, including IT. Whatever planning is done by the senior management, it is all at the macro level, and it must include IT. If IT is not included, then it will look like your IT will be outdated in the organization after some period. After that, no formulation in isolation. You cannot prepare your business strategy without preparing your IT strategy, and you cannot just prepare IT strategy and leave business strategy. That is what they're saying. No formulation in isolation. The point that you have to write in exam, it is not, these are not the headings you have to write is, you cannot, the enterprise cannot prepare or formulate enterprise strategy without formulating IT strategy. Both are dependent on each other. Then if you are using IT, it will help you to have finance and management control. Then auditor will understand the controls for IT deployment. What is IT deployment?
It's implementing IT.
Implementing IT. When you are installing a new system or you are applying application patches to the system, it is called as IT deployment. After that, controls are PPSG to provide reasonable assurance that objectives are achieved. What is PPSG? Policies, procedures, standards, guidelines. Okay. Controls are nothing but policies, procedures, standard guidelines to provide a reasonable assurance that objectives will be achieved. What is our objectives of the organization? That our risk must be within the risk appetite. How we are going to ensure that? By implementing controls. What is controls? It is basically policies, procedures, standards, guidelines. After that, there will be effectiveness in IT operations if there is alignment in IT strategy and business strategy. If there is no alignment, if there is no integration, then there will be not that level of effectiveness in the IT operations. Then if there is alignment or integration, it will establish and monitor metrics and goals. The metrics that we have seen till now for IT strategy planning process and for risk management process, those key metrics will help you to understand whether the investment in IT is worthwhile or not, and whether we are doing risk management of the enterprise or in appropriate manner or not. So we will understand this when you are going to prepare IT strategy, and without this, the business strategy is incomplete. So what we are saying is, if we integrate both and we align the same, it will help us in establishing and monitoring the metrics and goals. Okay, what are metrics and goals? They are just parameters to see whether the functioning of the enterprise is done effectively and efficiently. They are just parameters that you have to keep check with. Then IA can determine linkage and measure process. What is IA? It is internal audit department. What internal audit department will do is, it will see whether both are linked or not, and if they are linked, what are the key metrics, and using those key metrics, he will measure the progress. If there is no linkage, how is he going to use key metrics to measure progress? So that is why alignment and integration is important in case of business strategy and IT strategy. So here, auditor has come twice. First one is auditor understanding of controls, and then internal auditor understanding the linkage. After that, we are talking about metrics, controls, alignment, integration, no formulation in isolation, and macro level planning. So in this, remember macro level planning, formulation, auditors understanding, internal auditors understanding, controls, alignment, integration, and metrics. So this was, if the question comes, what is the relationship between business strategy and IT strategy? You must be able to tell them that the planning is done at a macro level. It cannot be formulated in isolation. There must be alignment. There must be metrics. Auditor must have understanding. Internal auditor must have understanding. And what is the importance of controls. It gives us reasonable assurance that objectives will be achieved. Now let's see something about the IT steering committee, because they are going to ensure the integration and alignment of business strategy and IT strategy. We have talked till now that it must be aligned, integrated and all. Who is responsible for that? IT steering committee is responsible for that. Now, let's see what is the composition of IT steering committee. Who are the people in the IT steering committee? They are directors and functional heads from key departments. What is KD? KD is key departments. Now I have a question. Is IT and audit department also key department? IT and audit department, are they key departments or supporting departments?
Supporting.
Supporting, sir.
They are key departments. So what you have to write is that IT steering committee will have directors and functional heads. It will also have functional heads from key departments like IT and audit department. Okay, those are the only key departments they have mentioned in the study material. There are no other key departments other than IT and audit department. They are the only key departments in the organization. So directors, functional heads of key departments like IT and audit department. Now, what will this IT steering committee do? It will take decisions regarding information systems and deployment of IT. We have seen what is IT deployment. So it will take decisions regarding information system and deployment of IT. Now let's see these functions in some detail. I've tried to club these functions so that it will be easier for you to remember. Now, first point is review and approve. What are the things that IT steering committee will review and approve? It will review and approve IT deployment projects. What are IT deployment projects? We are applying application patches, or we are launching a new project. We all will be covered in IT deployment projects. Then PPSG. What is PPSG? Policies, procedures, standard guidelines. Then information system plans and budgets status. Now this status part, we have already made information system plans and budgets. We will see whether they are being met or not, if the cost is being exceeded or not, or whether the benefits are being realized or not. All that will be reviewed and approved by IT steering committee. After it is approved by them, only then it will be communicated to all the stakeholders or the senior management. So, three things IT steering committee will review and approve. First one is IT deployment projects, then policies, procedures, standards, guidelines, and then status of information system plans and budgets. Okay, these are the three things IT steering committee will review and approve. Then further it will facilitate three things. It will facilitate implementation of IT security. Then it will facilitate conflict resolution in IT deployment. Conflict resolution in IT deployment. Then it will facilitate communication system between IT and user. If a user is having problem, he will not go to the IT department and start fighting. He will report it to the IT steering committee. Why? Because they have the sole responsibility of taking decisions regarding information system and deployment of IT. That is why there will be communication system, how the user and IT will interact. It will interact via IT steering committee. Then whenever a project is deployed, there will be some resistance to change, or in implementation there will be some problems. One department is saying that this was supposed to happen, but this is happening. So there will be some conflicts. So if IT steering committee is there, there will be conflict resolution. IT steering committee will take action. It will try to involve both the parties. They will tell them the benefits. They will tell them what are the problems and limitations, and accordingly it will ensure that conflicts are resolved. In case of IT deployment, if they are normal conflicts, we are not going to solve them. Only in relation to IT deployment, if the conflicts are there, only those conflicts will be handled by IT steering committee. That is why we are calling it IT steering committee. We are not calling it steering committee. And obviously implementation of IT security. After that, two normal or general points are that the long-term plan and the short-term plan must be in tune with each other. This is what we have learned in information system strategic planning process, that the long-term plan and the short-term plan must be consistent with each other. They must be in tune with each other. Instead of saying consistent with each other, they have said now it must be in tune with each other. Okay, so the crux is the same, only wordings have changed. And the last point is it will report to board of directors regularly. So first it will review and approve, then it will facilitate, then it will ensure, and then it will report. You can remember this as a refer. What is a refer? Review and approve, facilitate, ensure, report. In that refer, R has 3 points. It will review 3 points, then it will facilitate 3 points, and then ensure that long-term and short-term plan are in tune with each other, and then it will report to the board of directors regularly. So these were the easy IT steering committee functions. Okay, these questions are not as difficult as the conceptual part of this chapter, where we were comparing the types of governance and the preliminary part. Now let's see compliance review. After IT steering committee, we will learn something about compliance review. Yes, can you tell me the names of some scams that have occurred in which where the organizations involved were very huge and large and very vast, and still in spite of being such a large organization, such frauds have occurred or scams have occurred?
Satyam.
Satyam. Okay, what happened in Satyam? They prepared a fake company called Maytas. Okay, that is the reverse of Satyam, Maytas, Maytas, where they were trying to siphon the funds. They were showing that one person is giving the loan, but he was actually withdrawing money from the company in an unauthorized manner. So Satyam, then we have Enron at an international level. Then we know that Nirav Modi scam from Punjab National Bank, that is also a IT related scam. The system was not able to detect suspicious transactions. Okay, the audit hooks were disabled in that case. Now let's see compliance review. So what has happened is, after these scams have occurred, now the regulators have mandated that these are the compliance requirements. You have to follow them. If you don't follow them, we will penalize you or we will take strict actions against you. So now let's see what is the nature of these questions. The enforcement is mandated by regulators. Why it has been mandated? To make sure that frauds are not happening again and again in the large organizations. The large organization, the entire management was not involved in the Satyam scam. Only 2 or 3 directors who knew the functioning, who had influence, they used that influence for their personal benefit, and it was only detected because it went haywire. If it hadn't become unmanageable, it would have taken years to identify that. It was because of the authorities of the NASDAQ when they saw the Satyam balance sheet, they saw that we had a lot of cash. We means the Satyam company had a lot of funds lying idle, and they were not setting off those funds with the current liabilities. We were just stacking up the current liabilities, and we were also stacking up the. So that is why now they have mandated enforcement by regulators. Why we are doing this? So that there are no frauds in compliance by large organizations. What are the provisions that are mandating this enforcement? SOX. What is SOX? It is Sarbanes-Oxley Act. It is talking more and more about COSO framework and COVID-5. Then the clause 49 of the listing agreement. What does clause 49 of listing agreement say? You have to prepare a report that all the compliances have been met, and as per that, you have to mention that in your annual report. That is what clause 49 of listing agreement is saying. Okay, if you can read about it in detail in audit, you have to write these points in the exam, clause 49 of listing agreement, in each and every question of compliance. Now let's see how COVID-5 will enhance our compliance procedures. Okay, we already have normal compliance procedures, but now we are looking at it as if we are using COVID-5. What benefits we will have? It will obtain integration assurance. Okay, again we are talking about integration of IT compliance and enterprise compliance. What is ITC? It is IT compliance and enterprise compliance. The procedures in COVID-5, they are designed in such a way that we can obtain integration assurance. Okay, we can obtain assurance that both are integrated. Then it will ensure governance and regulatory requirements are complied with. Okay, what is GRC? GRC is governance and regulatory compliances are met with. Then again, this point is a common point. It will suggest accountability and responsibility. In COVID-5, we are communicating to all the stakeholders what are the compliance requirements. If a certain compliance requirement is not met, we will contact that particular stakeholder. So that is what we are saying is there will be accountability and responsibility. After that, it will provide us guidance to support GRC objectives. This is also a common point. Excellent guidance. There we were saying excellent guidance. Here we are saying just guidance. After that, this is a compliance focused process. Over there we were saying it has a 5 governance process. Now what we are saying, it is a compliance focused process. So if you compare compliance in COVID-5 and risk management in COVID-5, you can see both are same. There are at least 3 to 4 points that are similar. You have to only remember what are the key points in risk management and what are the key points in compliance. The key point in compliance is it has a compliance focused process. It has a management domain, and in that management domain we evaluate, direct and monitor. What do we evaluate, direct and monitor? Whether the compliance requirements have been met or not. Okay, so for COVID-5, remember that there is a management domain. In that management domain, we are evaluating, directing, and monitoring the compliance requirements. Okay, this MD here, this MD is management domain, and EDM is evaluate, direct, and monitor whether compliance requirements have been met or not. After that, it is a process that will evaluate compliance requirements. We have already seen that, just extension they have given. And the most important point that you have to mention in the end is COBIT plus COSO framework is the most widely used framework if an organization has information systems. Okay, it is a combination COBIT 5 plus COSO framework. Okay, if you are using COBIT 5, you are already using the best practices in the world. But if you are combining it with COSO framework, then More transparency is there, more accountability is there. That is why they are saying that it is most widely used framework in the world. See, the points, they are repetitive in nature. What you have to do is you have to just identify the question, whether it is in relation to risk management or strategy planning or compliance review. Make changes to the points and remember the key points. Okay. Otherwise, in chapter 1, if you remember the concepts in the earlier stage, you can write all the points in the later questions, because the theory is the same and the points are also the same. In the chart, I will give you the comparative chart for risk management and compliance review. Don't worry about it. Yes,
Sir, can you just repeat the complaints in COBIT 5 again, sir?
Compliance in COBIT 5. Okay, you will start the question by saying that in COBIT 5, we have a management domain. In that management domain, we will do evaluate, direct and monitor what are the compliance requirements. Okay, so we will say that COBIT 5 is a compliance focused process. It is a compliance focused process. What we will do in this process, we will evaluate what are the compliance requirements and whether they have met or not. It will ensure there is accountability and responsibility. There is integration, compliance requirements have met, and it will give guidance. Okay, these are the 4 things it will give. And the last point is COBIT 5 plus COSO framework is the most widely used framework. So only here remember that it is a compliance focused process. Then it will ensure there is integration, accountability, responsibility, compliance requirements have met, and it gives excellent guidance in relation to GRC. What is GRC? Governance and regulatory compliances. How to follow them. It will give excellent guidance on that.
Sir, could you explain how this COBIT 5, I mean, what exactly a COBIT 5 in an enterprise, or how it is, sir? Is it like I know that clause 49 should be reported along with the audit report. Then another small thing where you have some clauses, say a fraud or internal control, blah blah blah. I remember doing that, but in COBIT 5, can you give us some live example how it's been actually implemented in the enterprise, so that let us understand?
We have a separate part of a chapter only dedicated to COBIT 5, that it is a GIT framework and what is the need and what are the enablers and all. In risk management and compliance review, only that part of COBIT 5 I am covering it earlier, but we have a dedicated part of this chapter for COBIT 5. See, if you have understood this risk management in COBIT 5, then you can understand what is compliance review in COBIT 5. Okay, even if you don't understand them, it is fine. After we take the concept of COBIT 5, you will understand it better. Now let's see the key management practices of IT compliances. Okay, again, we'll take a break of 5 minutes. We will continue here again.